So to actually figure out what this method we made last time is all about, let's try and use something called the Debugger Tool. What we're going to do is we're going to add what we call a breakpoint. So I can actually step by step see what my code is actually executing. Right? That's pretty cool that I can actually step by step see every line of code that's executed, because pretty much all programs are just a huge set of lines that you'll just one by one execute until you get to whatever you need to do with your program. There are threads and stuff that makes that different, but right now just understand that right now it's actually a linear process, meaning do this, then 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 do this. That's kind of how the code is executed. But what we're going to do now is we're going to jump a bit around in the code. So when we hit this line, we're actually going to execute something in a method that's all the way down here. Now we can figure this out by adding breakpoints. So what I'm doing is I'm clicking all the way out in the gray area, adding a breakpoint. And since I'm already in debug mode, when I click this guy now, instead of actually launching the program, it'll run the program and then stop the code as soon as it hits a breakpoint. And right now the breakpoint is at the print line right here. That means that I can now actually go in and do a few things. I have 3 different commands that I'm using a lot here. I have step into, meaning I'm going to go into the code that I'm going to execute now. Step over, which means I know what's going on here, just step to the next line. And I also have step out, meaning go back to the previous place where I actually was. Now these 2 are the most used one, and I really encourage you guys to start using these to actually figure out what's going on in your code. So this is kind of what we call breakpoints, where I put this line right here inside the debug mode of your code. So I just wanted you guys to see that, and let's just try and step over the code to see what actually happens. So it prints line, I'll do a step over. Now what actually happens, if I open the console here, you'll see that it's actually printed that single line right now. Type in a name that contains L, right? Going back to Visual Studio, then it asks me to read something from the console. So let me just try and zoom out like this and press step over again, or F10. And notice, now there's actually no yellow lines in here, because right now the program is waiting for me to respond in the terminal. So let me try and do that inside the terminal here. Let me try and do a response. Boop. Here I'll write a name like Bob. I'll press enter. And now it grabs, it breaks the program again and says, what's going to happen now? You have a name now. And notice right here it's actually saying Bob now. So I can slowly walk over my variables if they actually give me what I expect. So the command I just wrote, the Bob I just wrote, has now been pulled from the terminal or the command prompt into the variable name right here called name, and now it says Bob as a string, right? We'll do this in the next lesson where I'll try and use the breakpoints, but now you guys know they're there. And I'll just step over once more and it'll start doing the while command. I'll step over here and I'll get into the while, because if I mouse over here I can see this is actually false, but combined not false actually equals true, right? So again you'll notice that I actually can, if I mouse over, I can actually see not name contains L, or I can see the contains L on its own, right? That's pretty awesome as well. So I can actually get why I'm getting into the while loop. Well, that's because your name does not contain L. Sweet, it also tells me how much time it took to get here. There's so much information. Let's just try and step over again. Let me zoom out. So I'm stepping over, and now it's going to print the line. It does not contain L. Try again. I step over again, and I'm actually sent back to the terminal now because it expects a new name. I'll say Bill. I'll press enter. It goes in and asks if Bill actually contains L. I'll step over. I'll step back into the loop. I'll ask the question again if the name contains, and this time the while loop will be false. So it'll stop the while loop, it'll destroy it and go to the next line after the while loop. It'll print the line you found something that contains L, stepping over again, print the line, press exit, press enter to exit, and then it'll read the line for you to actually wait for your enter key to be pressed like it's doing right now, and I'll press enter, boop, and it's over. The program has terminated, and when I press step over now, it's all over. One more thing and then we'll continue, and that is if at any point I don't want to wait for the breakpoint anymore, I can just press continue here and it'll stop you listening for the breakpoint, okay? That's all for this lesson. Now you guys know about breakpoints inside the debug mode of a console application. See you next time.